Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's bearing the heat. It's a very warm summer week today. Um, Wanted to just say welcome to everyone and thank you for joining my live stream. Whichever platform you're joining from, feel free to drop your question in the chat as soon as you have a thought or a question, and I'll address them as quickly as I can. My team can let me know, if you've DM'd me. Also, if you have a private question, especially particularly on the topics of career and what's going on and how do you make these decisions, by all means, private message me. Okay. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Angela Ye. I'm founder of Ye Ideology. We're a talent strategies consulting firm. We support both individual professionals as well as employers. Today, I want to talk about the recent layoffs, current events that are happening. Intuit just laid off 10% of its workforce as a move towards utilizing AI instead of, you know, people talent. The CEO said that 1,800 people who were laid off were labeled as underperformers. There's a massive uproar about this, and if you look online, you'll find lots of different discussions and forums and about this. On one Reddit post, there was a comment that talked about, if you have to label 1,800 people as underperformers, it's not a failure of the employee, rather it's a failure at the leadership level. So, going forward, do we need to relook at how leadership is defined? You know? But the other side of this is the elephant in the room we really have to talk about is AI. Are corporations taking a massive push towards utilizing AI technology in lieu of human capability? What do we have to do about that individually, each and every one of us? And I do think that people need to now take a look at their expertise. I mean, this is a combination of, it's interesting because as a career coach, as a career strategist, for more than 25 years, I've been helping people individually at points in their career realizing I have to for everyone, people have to look at how is the landscape of the job market changing? How is it changing its need for what I do? But this is, now it's coming industry wide. So let's just say hypothetically, AI is, being able to take on the expertise that a lot of people normally could have done. Does that reduce, it's not going to completely take over everything, but it certainly is going to cut down quite a bit on the need for a certain kind of expertise that some people may have built their entire careers on. If that's the case, if that need is reduced, then there's going to be a lot more competition for those of you that are out there. And then you have to really look at the playing field and say, where am I sitting in all of this? Okay. By the way, I've been doing this work for all kinds of professionals in the space of design, strategy, innovation, those of you that are change agents, those of you that you are pioneering and building expertise that's far beyond ahead of what your industry or profession normally would look for. And in fact, actually, one of the clients, well, it's interesting because one of the clients that just enrolled in our Thrive by Design program, our career coaching program, had actually shared with us, and we've heard this a lot, particularly for design leaders. This one gentleman had articulated and told us that the entire team he led, he and his entire team were laid off. And they immediately were so supportive of each other, they developed a support group to help each other get jobs, find leads, network. And actually, in a few months, pretty much, or actually, yeah, within a quarter, like 3 to 4 months, most of the people on his team, pretty much he said everyone got and landed a new opportunity, and except for him. And I do want to talk about this. Like, I think the higher you are in leadership, the more senior you are, the harder it is to find another opportunity. Okay. It's just, this is the lay of the land. The higher you are, the cost, the value, the standards, everything becomes much more selective. But not even just for the outward side, you as a professional, you that you've cultivated your expertise, you become more selective about where you take your career next, right? So this just, this to me, when we talk about, I always talk about the Olympics. Anybody who really cares about cultivating their expertise, you are in your own Olympics game. And what are you evolving into? And that's part of the work that we help professionals suss out for themselves. Beyond the value that you give to the world, where do you want to take your career? Okay. So if anybody does have any, if you are yourself, whatever level you're at, if you're a professional and you're struggling to find out where to take your career next, is it straight up the ladder into leadership, or is it time to go and start your own consultancy? Both of those paths, for instance, have its own challenges. Is it time to pivot to a different expertise? These are things that we help professionals take that time out to really look at that introspective question themselves. Okay. So if anybody's interested and wants to figure this out, you can check out thrivebydesign.today. And through our Thrive by Design Masterclass program, we've helped hundreds of design professionals and change agents not just identify and land new opportunities in a challenging market, but we've helped people even raise their compensation. Not everybody is able to do this, but it's unbelievable that people have. Through this method, people have doubled, tripled, and even quadrupled. It's pretty amazing. But people have even quadrupled their compensation in this process. Okay. We show you how to illustrate to employers and your clients the true value of the outsized impact that you deliver. Someone on my team just said, wait, there is someone who has a question. Okay. Question. As someone who was recently laid off, how can I balance my need to take the first role, that comes my way versus being more selective about my next role? Yes, that is, talk about mindset being a major issue, right? About how do you hold back and stand for what's important to you? Well, I would say that the first question is, do you even know what it is you're holding out for? Do you even know which types of opportunities are better for you for the next phase of your career, to take your career to that next level? Do you know what it is? And by the way, I would tell you that most people do come to me and say, oh, I was on the corporate side, so now I'm going to go start my own consultancy or go a consultancy side or run my own business. Or some people will say, well, I was in this industry. It's fun, fascinating, because lots of people used to think I was in ID, now I have to go to UX, and how quickly the tides have turned now with AI. More of that digital UX space work can be replicated there, seemingly, not always for all companies and all initiatives, but and there's a big swing to now, where do we go from there? Um, I do think that this takes some introspective work. Do you really know where do you want to take it next? You know, like people tell us, big company, a lot of people will come to me and say, oh, I'm not going to work for big corporations because it'll tend to be this kind of work. You can't look at jobs, to me, as general archetypes of corporations are like this, startups are like this, manufacturers are like this, this profession, that profession. You really need to spend time thinking about, out of all the work that you do. I mean, this is, one of the frameworks that I teach people to really look at and grapple with is, what is it that you really want to do next in your career? How do you understand what's going to take you further? And sometimes you have to understand whether then you've got to benchmark that against the market to really understand, is that really going to take me far? Or where my passion is that just a side hobby? How do I really take that side hobby and convert that into a real career, right? That's viable for the market. So you really have to understand how to see that. Through your networking and through your colleagues, if you can ask around and ask people about that, that's one thing you can do. But if you want advice, whoever is asking that question, by all means, you can feel free to schedule a career strategy call with me, and we can go over like, how do you understand, how do you make those choices, right? Because to your original question, as someone who was recently laid off, let me repeat the question. As someone who was recently laid off, how can I balance my need to take the first role that comes my way versus being more selective about my next role? I also don't know where you are financially. I've met people where people were holding out. In fact, I've met people who've been incredibly successful, and then I find out that they're holding out for something, and let's talk about real world ramifications. If you have to pay rent, then you need to not hold out, and you've got to take something in the meantime. But how do we know what's worth being selective over? To me, a lot of people are taking jobs that, even they on the surface, by the way, on initial phases of a conversation, a lot of the third component of what we teach people now is how do you move through an interview? Because when someone, most likely, if you have been laid off, your mindset is going to be more in that fixed and limiting beliefs and that feeling of lack and desperation, where you're going to feel, all right, I've just got to take whatever comes. That's an advantage for employers if you are not understanding really where you stand, what you get to stand on, as in what's valuable in your expertise. And you will be in that state of lack, and they can leverage that. Heavy truth. That's what a lot of companies know how to leverage, particularly HR and recruitment. And so that's part of that third component that we now train people. And I'll tell you, we've taught people how to move through, let's say, like the 7 phases of a recruitment process, how to hold on to stand for what they believe in, what they know their expertise is worth, down to not even signing, but even in the first months of employment. There's a lot that shifts even in those moments. So I'm not sure if, I hope that that's been helpful, and that it just gives you an idea of what you want to think about. But yes, there are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of moving parts that you want to be introspective about. First and foremost, what's right for you, and then understanding, benchmarking that against how is the landscape? What does the market look like right now in this area, that area, that area? And, where do you bring the most value, and how do you negotiate for that and stand for it? Okay. Hopefully that helps. I don't know if there's any other questions, but that's about it. Just wanted to give you guys a little update about what's going on in the market, and how that might be affecting you. My biggest concern, just for the industry as a whole, for everybody that's in, like right now, what's happening. This is industry wide. We're talking, when I say design, strategy, innovation, this is happening and affecting areas of, user experience, UX, industrial design, service design, lots of different categories. Not in every company though. And what my concern is that overall, if everybody starts to lower their standards as professionals representing your expertise, over, the opposite of, what's the opposite of alt, raise raise the tides, all boats rise, is that as an industry, we need to know to stand for our expertise. But at the same time, you have to be realistic of how long, you can afford to do that yourself individually, right? So there's a lot going on right now. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. You can schedule a career strategy call with us. Anwesha and my team will go ahead and share that link down below. So if anybody has questions, do book a call, and I'm more than, welcome to have a conversation with you so that you understand what to do with your career going forward. Okay. Beyond taking sabbatical, don't just take a break. Use this time wisely to really do some really heavy duty introspective work and think about, where do you want to take this next, even regardless of what's going on out there. Okay. So for all of you, I'm going to wrap up. For all of you who've joined me today, thank you. I hope that this has brought some, you know, useful thinking for you about what's going on with you in your career. Um, for all of you, just so you know, one thing I want you to realize, while any of you who are listening, you probably have a certain quality of expertise that your customers, your clients need. Chances are you may not realize, for many of you, with all the work that we've done, we find that many of you have brought millions, beyond tens of thousands of dollars of impact. You've brought millions, and for some, even billions of dollars of impact to your customers. But the problem is they don't know how to see and qualify your expertise. And that's the challenge that you need to realize. You need to step up and own that challenge. Um, you know, you need to realize they need you now more than ever, but they don't know how to see you. And that's on you to figure this out. You've got to learn how to own that. Okay. If anybody wants to learn a little bit more, certainly subscribe to our newsletter by going to our website, yayideology.com, for any announcements. We have another webinar coming up, and we announce those first on our newsletter. And certainly follow us here on LinkedIn, YouTube, and or Instagram to stay up to date on industry trends that are going on and advice that we'll give. Okay. If you do find these topics helpful and useful, do me a favor, like and subscribe and share with anyone you think could benefit from this, because we want to help professionals understand how to represent their value, right? And be seen and be honored for their work. I'll see you around. I hope you are enjoying the rest of this summer, okay? Or this week, the hot weather. Bye. I'll talk to you later.